it's memory, thought and language, and it's 8 to 10. Those two chapters are 8 to 10%, and sometimes intelligence and testing is in there as well. Okay, so let's start with memory. First thing with memory is a model is a theory, and they base memory on the theory or model that encoding gets it into your mind. Storage, it stays there, and retrieval is when you access your memory. Short-term memory, STM, holds about 7 pieces of information, plus or minus 2, and then you rehearse, you process it in your short-term memory, and that lasts for about 19 seconds, and it goes to the long-term memory, and then you have to retrieve it, and as you can see, you can hear a bunch of stuff, but when you retrieve it, it's more difficult. So sensory memory is really brief. It's like you have a brief here. Where's the K? Basically, if I just flash this away, you have a brief iconic memory. I wouldn't worry about that too much. Implicit memories you're unaware of, like muscle memory, like tying your shoe. Explicit memories you are aware of, like trying to memorize what a dendrite is. Okay, and then rehearsal is when you study, you're conscious going over the information. You're trying to remember this number, 65216. And when that goes over in your head, that's explicit, and it's your short-term memory. Sometimes it's called working memory because really you're blending, whenever you're taking new information in, you are connecting it to your long-term memory. Space practice and overlearning, we love that. That's what we do for reviewing for a test. Space practice or distributed practice. You remember stuff a little bit over many, many days. That's why cramming is bad. And overlearning is easier. That's what a review is. You go over the material again. All right, we don't remember all things equal. Serial position effect is on a list. We will remember the first thing and the last thing, and we'll forget the stuff in the middle, and that's because of the primacy effect. When you first get a list, your short-term memory is like a working doc. It's empty, and you can process it and get it into your long-term memory. In the middle, stuff comes at you, and it gets harder to process, and at the end, you have time, and you remember that last one at the end. All right, back to encoding here. Step 1 is encoding. We can encode visually, acoustically, and semantically, meaning you can remember the way something looks, you can remember the way it sounds, but if it makes sense, that's the most effective way to encode. So just like when you're learning material, if it doesn't make sense, you won't remember it. So semantic encoding is when you process something and make sense of it, you're more likely to remember it. Biology of memory, long-term potentiation, that's neurons. Every time you have when you're thinking, neurons are firing. And if you know something well, you've studied it well, you have a lot of long-term potentiation. It's basically the biology of a memory. Remember, the emotion is stronger with memory is stronger with emotion. Hippocampus, which is next to the amygdala, for memories. All right, the types of memories to be aware of. Episodic is what you had for breakfast today. It's something from your life. Semantic is information like who was president in 1863. Procedural, like a procedure is doing something, like muscle memory, like tying your shoe or playing the violin. That's a procedural memory. And a flashbulb memory is really, really vivid, rare. There's lots of emotion, like where were you when JFK was shot? Or where were you when the big earthquake? That's a flashbulb memory. Those are the different types of memory. Okay. The hardest thing is retrieval and recall and recognition. Recall is you have to recognize something with no cues. On a test, that would be an essay or fill in the blank with no word bank. Recall, you just have to find the memory. Recognition, you get a hint, like a multiple choice test. A cue, a memory cue, is a tag or a hint, something that helps you remember something. Like if I said, what country is below, well, it would be, in maps that happens all the time, that there's Belgium and there's the Netherlands. And basically, students always forget these, Netherlands and Belgium. And they don't care, but if you say, okay, take a minute, let's tag it. Netherlands is in the north. Belgium is below, see right there? And then when they go, where's Belgium? It's the one below. That's kind of a memory tag. That's what memory tricks are too. Okay, you can improve your memory by actively rehearsing and mnemonics or memory tricks. We love memory tricks. Famous mnemonic devices are PEGWord, which is one bun, two shoe, three tree, or method of loci. And these are both metacognition. And metacognition is learning about learning or thinking about thinking. So when you're thinking of a strategy or a way to learn better, that's called metacognition. Oh, there we go. Metacognition, thinking about thinking. Any kind of strategy would be metacognition. All right, a couple problems with retrieval. there's interference and amnesia. And these are memory problems. They always come up on the test. I'll try not to confuse you, but here's how I think of them. So interference is, it's in there, but you can't access it. Something's blocking it. And amnesia is usually you get bonked in the head and you just forget your name, you forget where you are, and it's usually temporary. So those are those two. All right. Retroactive interference. Here's how I think of it. Interference is a block. If it's retroactive, it's a backward acting block. This gets confusing, but write it down and you can do this. Someone says something like, my old station was on channel 2. My favorite show was on channel 2. Now it's on channel 11. And they said something like, I can't remember channel 11 because channel 2 kept coming up. So here's a better way to think. Hold on, I messed that one up. It even confuses me. I got it wrong. Backward acting interference is this. It's a backward acting block. If it's backward acting, the new is messing with the old. So if it's backward acting, I couldn't remember my old phone number. That's backward acting, retroactive interference. Ooh, I had to talk that one out. Proactive interference is the other one. It's forward acting. So if that's the old, and I would write this down if I was taking the test. That's the old, that's the new. My old was number 2. It's forward acting. I can't remember my new number because I keep remembering my old number. That would be proactive interference. All right, you can get those. Just take your time. They're tricky. Amnesia is easier. You get hit in the head, you get bonked, you lose your memory. Retroamnesia, loss of the old. Retro loss. So get bonked in the head, you forgot your old information, you lose the retro. And then anterograde amnesia is the other one. You can't form new memories. Now that's weird. What do you mean form a new memory if you don't have one? What that really means is you have a short-term memory problem. Your short-term memory works okay, but you can't form new memories. It's very rare. And it's a great movie called Memento. And 50 First Dates does it as well. You basically, I think of no memories after the accident, you can't form new memories. So you can have a 15-second short-term memory, but then you'll forget it. It won't go to the long-term memory. All right, retrieval, you have cues. Those are hints. They can help you remember stuff better. Moods can help you remember stuff better. And context. There's mood-dependent memory and context-dependent memory. So basically, a mood can trigger a memory. A context can trigger a memory. That's why the best place to take the AP Psych test would be in our class because that's where you learned. Memory construction is a theme of memory. You're not a camera. You're not perfect. We build memories, kind of like a model. That's why you can make a mistake with memory. Like you had a friend and you confuse a story. Like you mix two stories together. Like you were with the one friend and you ate a hamburger, but the reality was you were with your friend and you had a salad. Basically, memory construction it's called the misinformation effect. You can put a wrong piece of information into a memory. All right, that's memory. That's a good way to get started. We'll do thought and language next.